watched Pina, Wim Wenders' film, and in it he interviewed people, but when he interviewed them, you heard what they were saying, but you were just looking at their faces, looking at the camera. Because the eye is trained to look at movement, so every time the mouth moves, the eye looks at the mouth moving. But when you take that movement away, and then you can still hear the words, but then you're really looking at the face, the eyes, and kind of the eyes are free to roam around the face of the person. So that's what fascinates me or excites me, just looking at these different directors, looking at their work, getting inspired by them. That's a big part of how I fell in love with cinema. But then the other big part is it's a journey that has started long ago, before I knew any of the great names in cinema or had seen any of their films. And that's a journey that for me started when I was 9. That's what, actually, for the first time now I realized that it was 9 when I knew I wanted to make films, and I was also 9 when we got in a car accident back in Bulgaria. Today I live in America, in Seattle, as far away from Bulgaria as possible, not by choice, by destiny. And but I always feel like Bulgaria is within a hand's reach. But anyway, so we were in a Lada, it's a Russian-made car, back in Bulgaria, going to the Black Sea, 5 of us in the car, the children, myself and my sister in the back, and early in the morning, somebody overtakes my father who is driving, and the car, he goes to the side, the car goes through 2 wooden poles, electric poles, and then flips over, skids on the top, and stops. And then we come out. We were asleep when the accident happened, but then I walked out through the front windshield, shattered front windshield. And I did eventually see the posts hanging on the wires. So it's almost like my eyes at that moment were just like a camera photographing. I guess that's what powerful experiences and memories do. But the memory that really defined me as a filmmaker, looking back on it now, was when we walked out through that front windshield, there was a bus of people. And of course traffic had stopped. And we're filming in the living room here in Seattle, where I edit from. My computer is right up here, and there's lots of buses going by. So in film, when there's a bus going by or airplane, you have to stop because then the sound really suffers. But now we continue. And so I walked out through the front windshield, and there is a bus of people, and I'll never forget their faces. I believe it was people of all ages, really. I believe there was children too, and their faces just glued like that. Because the person, obviously the state of the car, the people that were coming through the windshield, the person that was riding in the front passenger seat was in a coma and bleeding. But that memory of those faces, that's something that has stayed with me all these years, and perhaps it's almost like I want to know who you are, that you witness this accident. I mean, are we here by accident? Are we not here by accident? So everything is kind of like starts spiraling, and those people become the people that I film today, 30 years later. Just that curiosity in the human face. Who is it that's looking at me? So in the audience, hundreds of people, you connect through the medium of film to thousands and millions of people. Who are you watching? Me, because actually on the screen it is me. I mean, if it wasn't me, then why bother making a film if it's not you up there? Then it's just like you've put on some kind of costume and you're like pretending that you're something else. But I mean, perhaps there's a place for that, but to me what's most fascinating is that I just want to give everything from myself to the audience, and in the hopes that they take that and use it as they want to. It's a very, very deep relationship with film. One that runs very, very deep. Inexplicably so. So I like to think it's my calling. That's why I'm here. And then film has a way of, always has had a way of showing me where to be, what to do. When I came to America, I was just 18, and in 2 years I was going to get an Oscar and be at the speech, and I was writing this script. It was called Save Our Souls. I actually just found it, and it's based on experiences in Bulgaria, and it's actually inspired by a song by Vysotsky, Save Our Souls. And anyway, and so I had all these ideas, but then all these years later I still haven't made a feature film, and I still, that's what I would love to do. But the journey has been absolutely very, very rewarding. That I never imagined that I'll be making documentary films, but then through working in the Bulgarian community and being connected to our culture and heritage, suddenly I found myself making a documentary film about a Bulgarian grandma that comes to America to take care of her grandkids. And then now I'm making one on the Bulgarian shepherd's flute, kaval, and a master musician and maker here that lives here in Seattle. And suddenly, instead of being a filmmaker working in a big sea of people in the United States of America, I'm a filmmaker first and foremost, serving my community through my art. And this is just was so unexpected as it unfolded and happened, and such a joy to actually be of servitude with what you do. There's no better way to put it than to really, I think I get in trouble because I really want to serve people with my films or writing, and when I feel like I'm not serving people, I just get very anxious, depressed actually. I get quite depressed, and so film is it's a way to really give back in a sense of like telling stories, but also feelings, and the way that it's all pieced together, it creates a different feeling, and hopefully people connect to it, and in this way you've given them an emotional experience, a deeper spiritual experience, and people can walk away perhaps feeling more connected to each other, or I don't know what how people would experience it, but the intention is there to give through the medium. And so one of the defining moments was the bus with the faces and the people. Another one was I was working on a feature film about the Holocaust, and watched a documentary called Shore, which was filmed in the 70s by a French documentary filmmaker who interviewed survivors and their horror stories. And one story was, for example, was a person talking about his best friend, and they were cutting hair where the women were coming through. And so two barbers, and they're cutting hair. And so this person is being interviewed about his friend. And then one day, his friend's wife and two daughters walk by and sit in front of him. And he has to cut their hair before they go get gassed. And then you're watching this in this documentary, and these grown-up people breaking down, getting up, walking away, coming back, sitting in front of the camera, and the camera just sits and watches. An absolutely incredible experience. And another experience that I believe really showed me that film is not about like casting actors or pretending to be somebody else. No, this is all within us. All of these demons and angels, and my responsibility as a film director is to observe that without judgment, and to really get a glimpse of the soul, get a glimpse of the most joyous places of the soul, but also get a glimpse of the darkest places of the soul. Because if we don't have the dark places, then we won't know what it's like to have the light. And it's very interesting because in 2008 I made a short film called Slušaj, Listen, another example of film telling you to listen. And that name just came on the fourth day of filming. And the film was talking back to me and saying, Bogdan, listen, I'll guide you, but you listen to me. And so sometimes it's not easy to listen to so many distractions, but still learning to listen and hopefully getting a little bit better at it. But I made that film, and then people years later were telling me, oh, your films are so dark. And I never ever thought that my films were dark. It's just so bizarre to hear that from people. And then I realized more and more that what does really draw me to filmmaking is exploring solitude and pain and suffering and being lost, so that then you're offering one contrast, so that then the audience can have the other, they can fill in, and then they can offer the other contrast. So in a very strange way, this kind of more darker elements elevate the audience, because they make them look for the light within. And then the gifts continue. Another gift of being a filmmaker is becoming a teacher of kids between the ages of 9 and 12, and it's teaching children is just, I teach them as much as they teach me. It's really incredible to see how they think nowadays, to really how they, I mean, today we were talking about Robert De Niro. They don't know who Robert De Niro is. Many of them haven't seen a Charlie Chaplin movie. It's really, really so, but then when you show it to them, they're just in absolute awe. Or there was another experience with my stepdaughter, and I'll perhaps finish this with that, is that we watched here at the home with 5 of her friends, so ages 10, 11, E.T., the extraterrestrial. And I hadn't seen it in 20 years. And I was here in 2017 with 5 little girls watching this movie. It was 11 o'clock. They stayed up until 1 watching it. 2 of them were crying. They were all absolutely they really loved it, and it actually made me teary-eyed because I realized, hey, what's happened to films nowadays? I have to let the bus go by. But that's a good question to ponder. What's happened to films nowadays? In other words, I was watching these kids react to this movie in this amazing way, and this story and the humanity of it, and the visuals, everything, and just realize that we are shortchanging them. We are not we're taking them for granted. We're giving them, we're feeding them junk food in way of cinema, where they're hungry for juicy fruits and vegetables. That's what they want. I saw it firsthand, and it is my hope that this new generation of filmmakers coming up will hopefully not take their audiences for granted.